Welcome to Perspectives, the vodcast of the American Mental Health Counselors Association with the National President and Interim CEO/ED, Dr. Beverly Smith. This vodcast will bring to you the perspectives of clinical mental health counseling as it pertains to ethics, public policy and legislation, multiculturalism and social justice, as well as leadership and advocacy. This vodcast will feature experts in the clinical mental health counseling field to enhance the work of clinical professionals and to inform the public. The American Mental Health Counselors Association advocates for over 130,000 licensed clinical mental health counselors in the United States who are licensed to assess, diagnose, and treat mental disorders. We are the only organization working exclusively for clinical mental health counselors. Join the Perspectives for insight from experts on wellness and daily living, current clinical research, integrative healthcare, as well as how to maintain personal, family, and organizational wellness in an anxious and ever-changing world. Let's connect and hear the perspectives.
Hello, I'm Dr. Beverly Smith, President and Interim CEO of the American Mental Health Counselors Association. This is our broadcast called Perspectives, and we have some talented, resourceful, and special guests with us today on our broadcast called Perspectives. We have with us Dr. Jeri Stevenson. She worked on the Counseling Compact with us. She has served tirelessly in the clinical mental health counseling profession. Welcome to our broadcast, Jeri, and we'll let each guest introduce themselves in a few minutes. I also want to introduce to you Dr. Gray Otis. Dr. Gray Otis is the treasurer for the American Mental Health Counselors Association, but that's not all that he does. He is intricately involved within AMHCA and the counseling profession. Again, he serves as the treasurer, but he's also served instrumental in being the author, one of the authors in our declaration, but also he helped us with the Counseling Compact and one of our representatives who was available as well as with Jeri throughout the nation to help and to guide leaders in those states to enact in the Counseling Compact. So welcome Dr. Stevens and Dr. Otis to Perspectives. Share with us, Dr. Stevens, a little bit more about yourself so our audience will know who you are.
Well, I am a licensed clinical mental health counselor in Maine. It's called an LCPC. I work half-time at Husson University. I place practicum students and internship students, provide supervision and supervision of supervision for those who supervise our students. I also have my own company called Chandler Resources, where I teach ethics and supervision, and quite a large private practice in providing supervision to school counselors, social workers, mental health counselors, school-based clinicians. And in my free time, I work with ski racers with sports performance and helping them have mindful focus on their journey of ski racing. So I get to virtually travel around the world with them.
You are a busy clinician. You're a world-class traveler, just as Dr. Otis is a world-class traveler, and you still do the work of counseling. So yes. Thank you. We're glad that you're with us today. Dr. Otis, please tell us more about who you are and your area of expertise.
Well, thanks. It's good to be with you both. I'm grateful to have worked with Jeri for many, many years because she was the chair of our ethics committee for the American Mental Health Counselors Association and supervised and worked through a number of revisions. So that's pretty cool. I'm a past president of AMHCA back 2013, I believe, 2014. And so affectionately referred to as one of the dinosaurs. Been hanging around forever, doing a lot of things. I'm a licensed clinical mental health counselor, AMHCA here in Utah. And still in private practice, seeing clients about 2 days a week. I also head up a nonprofit, Key Core Beliefs, that is working with people and helping them to understand how they can change their self-identity, the beliefs that they have about themselves. And I managed to stay busy with AMHCA and work with the Utah Mental Health Counselors Association. As you say in DC, it's true here in Utah. We're up on the hill, in other words, at the Capitol, working on legislation, and I've had some pretty good legislative wins this last session that just ended a few months ago. So that's a little of my background.
And you said dinosaur. You're not a dinosaur. We know you as Dr. G, but we also know that you're legendary in AMHCA. You, as well as Jeri, you are bringing a wealth of resource and knowledge and wisdom to the organization. I have enjoyed working with you all. I've enjoyed listening to your wisdom, but I've enjoyed watching you guide the organization, help shape the organization and the emerging professionals. So thank you. Thank you for that. Share with the audience your areas of expertise or what got you into counseling and serving and working in your area of expertise. Who wants to go first?
Jeri, please.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure really what got me into it. I'm sort of a person who I follow whatever feels right and then go to school and do, just keep on growing. And so I started out as a school counselor and worked in schools for a lot of years, and just realized I was not getting to the meat of what I wanted. Wasn't being able to work with families and work with some of the more deep-rooted situations. And so I went on to school more to get the clinical perspective of mental health. So then I started really working primarily in mental health, then really missed the school. So I started supervising school counselors and working for a university training school counselors in clinical mental health. So it's always just been sort of there. But, my passion, I think, not only is in working with clients and watching them grow and change, but I have a huge passion in watching people grow as professionals in the field. And that's really where I'm ending up now.
Okay. So. But thank you for that. And I know it takes a lot of energy, a lot of work with the emerging professionals, but it sounds like you have a passion for it, and that makes a difference.
Correct. Yes, I do. Thank you.
Dr. G.
Kind of similar. I've wound up in similar places. Really still love working with people. But I actually had a full military career, retired, and was looking around as to what I could do. And I hearkened back to some support I had gotten by mental health professionals. And that led me to investigate and then pursue a master's and then a PhD in counseling and counseling psychology. And that really did lead to a level of desire to be there and be supportive of others. I early on developed a very strong interest in trauma and trauma resolution, and have followed that pathway, and has really informed my practice to a very large degree, because I think most of what we see, or what I see in terms of anxiety and depression, really stems back to either traumatic experiences or chronically distressful experiences. So I've always felt that that's important. Also, I had a very early interest in working with couples. I'm not a family therapist, but I do say I'm a couples counselor, and I really enjoy the work. It's very enjoyable. But of course, this led to me being more and more interested in working with both the American Mental Health Counselors Association as well as our Utah Association. And that's, again, we're back to emerging professionals to a large degree, and sharing knowledge. And I think for me professionally, it's not all give. What I get out of it is these wonderful collegial relationships with people now that I've known sometimes a few years and times quite a few years, but it always brings me back to what is really motivating for me and what is uplifting for me. And that's kind of my pathway. I hope I keep going on it.
I hope you keep going on it as well.
I hope you keep going on it too, because I've really enjoyed working with you.
I do too.
And that goes both directions for both you, Jeri, and particularly, and also for you, Dr. Beverly Smith.
Enjoy you all. It's just good to be here, even on the podcast, honestly, to have the conversation and to share more about who we are. I know people see us in the professional realm, and this is a professional podcast, but also it's good for our audience, our members, just to have a glimpse into who we are as a person, what motivates us, and kind of why we do what we do. And so that's important. And it sounds like there's some commonalities in your interests, areas of service. And I heard you both kind of mention emerging professionals or giving back. In light of where we are now in our society, with hearing and experiencing various tragedies, what advice would you give to emerging professionals who are just starting out and trying to get that balance of life going for themselves while they become emerging professionals?
Yeah.
Mine, I think the biggest advice I can give is to join your organizations. I hear a lot of people say my organization doesn't do anything for me, and I'm often baffled by that, because it's us that have to do for the organization to be able to give back to us. And so being able to get young folks in the field to join organizations and be instrumental in participating in whatever the emerging topics are, because they are the future.
Getting involved in professional association and volunteering, as someone said earlier, I'm not sure who it was, could have been Dr. Judith Harrington, the chair of advanced clinical practice. She said volunteer is gold, and it is. Volunteer is gold. So we encourage individuals to join the profession, join AMHCA, and get involved. And the great thing about it, you have an opportunity to be mentored. You have an opportunity to connect with other colleagues and learn and grow and receive wise counsel. And that is important. That's just extremely valuable. And that you get more service than what we've actually paid for, in my opinion, anyway, in my opinion.
And I completely agree. Get involved. It's funny. Yesterday and today, I got calls from two of my colleagues asking me about ethical questions.
Yeah.
And I asked, what are your ethical resources? Well, there's a lot of them, but they just don't occur, as Jeri and I know really well, because we've worked on ethics and the code of ethics and appendixes to it. And I asked both of them, have you joined your association? And neither of them had. Gee, funniest thing. So I would certainly recommend that anybody that's in the profession, but particularly those who are emerging, as I was, many years ago, it made such a huge difference in how I saw myself, how I saw the profession, and what I was able to reach out and connect with other people and have those collegial experiences. I think the other thing I would say is don't get too wrapped up in anything. Pay attention to your own health, your own emotional well-being, your learning, lifelong learning. Pay attention to your relationships. Let them slide. Take care of yourself and find those uplifting, I call them transcendent experiences that really make our lives richer. So yeah, take care of yourself. Then you can be in a better place to be of support to others as you move forward in your profession.
Excellent advice. Words of wisdom, wise counsel. Wise counsel. It does help when you get involved within AMHCA. It does help with developing and maintaining your counselor identity. It helps you stay abreast of what's going on in the profession, to continue to learn and network, and have that good supportive accountability group or a group for consultation. So that is extremely important. I want to shift a little bit to the work that we did this year together. We worked on the Counseling Compact. And so I want to talk about that for a few minutes and talk about a declaration, a few other things, because we've done a lot and you all have done a lot. But in regards to the Counseling Compact, can you share with us your role in helping the compact to get enacted in your state, the role that your AMHCA chapters in your states played? What advice would you give to our audience or individuals who are trying to get the Counseling Compact enacted? We have the 10 states now, but still the other states wanted to get on board. Any advice you would give to our audience and members and state chapters based upon your experience? Because you two were truly boots on the ground to make it and helping the compact get enacted. And I want to say thank you for that. It has not gone unnoticed.
Mhm.
So who got there first, Jeri? Our state or yours?
You did, I think. We were number 7.
Okay, we were number 6.
Okay, so why don't you start on this one? Since I called on you for help. You can start.
And we worked together as well as with Beverly. You want me to share a slide on this one, Beverly?
Yes. You have screen share rights, so I need to make you a co-host. What do I need to do?
I guess, or I can just talk about, let me just do that. You know, the real deal here is, at least for us, and I'm guessing, Jeri, it's the same for you, that when we went to our legislators, we had to take the Counseling Compact, which is a law that has been drafted and has to be adopted. The draft has to be adopted by the state legislature. And so we're trying to get them to agree that this is a good thing. And the focus that we had was to make sure that they understood that it was increasing public access and continuity of care across state lines. Because the Counseling Compact allows a person in one compact, for example, I'm in Utah, and there's been a act signed into law by the governor of Georgia. So if I'm let's say I'm working with a student, it's going to school, and that student goes home to Georgia for their summer break, and but they need that continuity of care. Well, I'm able to provide that through telemental health services because both Georgia and Utah have become members of the compact or passed compact legislation. Now, this is not in effect yet, but we do know that it's going into effect because it requires a minimum of 10 states, and we already have that. So the idea is to sell, I shouldn't say that, market or present the idea that this is for the betterment of the citizens of the state, in increasing public access, because it would work the reverse if somebody was here temporarily from Georgia and they had a Georgia counselor. That continuity of care and enhance the state's ability to really improve and increase the public's access to mental health services. It also does eliminate unnecessary administrative costs. And one of the other aspects of the Counseling Compact is if somebody moves here from Georgia and they're fully licensed in Georgia, they don't have to jump through a bunch of Utah hoops in government to get licensed. Their license in Georgia means they will be with very little, fill out a few forms and then they're fully licensed here in Utah. So these are the things that we focused on to make sure that the people that the legislators in our state legislature were aware of that. So those are some of the highlights that we kept emphasizing. This is for the betterment of not our profession, although that's true, but primarily for the betterment of public access and the citizens of the great state of Utah.
Co-host Gray, so you can share your slides if you want to.
Yeah, I think I just talked off them, and I think covered most of the basic points there. Jeri might have some different perspectives of what really worked for her and her state.
Well, all of those things that you just talked about are exactly the same here. And in working with some of the other states, what I realized what we did that worked real well is we chose a legislator who understood us. And when she didn't understand some of the concepts, she asked, and she worked with us and worked with the people who were helping develop this compact. So that was really good. She kept us right in the loop, helped us move along the way we needed to. And then the other thing that was really powerful for us is that we use social media. And we begged for help from not just mental health counselors, but from social workers as well, with an understanding that when it becomes their turn, we were going to be helping them as well. And I think in Maine, anyway, we had probably as many social workers working on the passing of this compact as we did our own folks, because of just understanding how powerful this really is. I've been working with some other states trying to help them, and some of the complexities is the sponsors not understanding. And so they're not participating, and the counselors not having knowledge enough to go back after these sponsors and get them involved. And so I think that we just need to be, helping people understand that who you choose to sponsor the bill is really, really important.
Huge.
It's
I'll just
huge.
add, thank you for bringing that up,
Yeah.
because if you've got one or two good sponsors that know their way around the legislature and they really understand what this is all about, we did put together a little presentation focused for Utah. And once they got it, they got the vision of that, they were really fully on board, and then they could convince their state senators or fellow representatives to get on board as well. And I thank you for bringing up the social workers. We too did that. We actually have a working group of psychologists, social workers, marriage and family therapists, nurse practitioners, substance use disorder counselors, and even doctors. We meet together regularly, and we got their support first and made sure that there was no questions or no things that were going to cause a monkey wrench to be thrown in the machinery. And they, again, once they understood it, they got fully on board. And it was just what you said, Jeri. The social worker said, yeah, we want this too. And we said, well, let's get it here for us. And we're going to make sure that we get it for you, because that's important for you and psychologists and everybody else in the field.
Yep, that's exactly. And one of the other big issues was that in legislators not understanding, they were afraid people who were not qualified were going to come into the state, or people with a different belief system, that they were going to come into the state and start practicing differently than what our rules and laws allow. And being able to help the legislators understand, and even people in the field, help them understand that the state still is the regulatory board. Yes. So people can't come into Maine, be less qualified, because they can't be in the compact unless they are qualified. So, and Maine still regulates whoever practices in Maine.
Yeah, that's a great selling point, because the state still retains its sovereignty, still retains its laws and rules. That does not change at all because of the compact. Yeah. And but I think the other side of that, to some degree, is the fact that it brought greater awareness of the qualifications of counselors, right, and how well educated, trained, experienced, and supervised at some point in our career that all requires. So that idea of getting a better degree or a higher degree of visibility for the profession was significant here in the state of Utah.
Yeah, here too.
Yeah, I'm sure it's the same thing in Maine. But you all just did great work in both of your states, and you're available to other leaders and state chapters as a resource, and that is extremely important. And so again, thank you for the work with the compact. It's not over yet. We're still in the process, and still more states are coming on board. And so we look forward to the continued work to continue elevating and pushing the compact forward. I want to shift a little and talk about credentialing declaration that AMHCA has. Can we talk about that for a minute and just bring some awareness to our credentials and to the declaration? What is the declaration?
Well, which one do you want first?
Let's start the declaration first.
All right, let's see if I can get down there fast enough. I think it's important for members of our profession to understand that, and I'm going to try and share my screen if I can. Is that coming through?
It's coming, and there we go.
Yeah, okay. So we have what is referred to as the Clinical Mental Health Counselor Declaration, a Hippocratic pledge. And as far as I know, we're the only profession in the mental health field. This is common among medical practitioners, but I'm not aware of anything like this outside of our own particular field. But this is basically a condensation of what we really believe in terms of our ethics and in terms of how we practice. And so this is the entrance to it. You want me to go over it, or do you want to just let people read?
It's worth going over, Gray.
Okay. Well, clinical mental health counselors advocate for the well-being of individuals, families, and communities. They are highly trained and qualified to provide comprehensive assessment, diagnosis, and treatment of mental health disorders, as well as barriers to quality of life. Members of the profession also integrate mental health with social, cultural, vocational, educational, and physical wellness. So this much more holistic approach. Well, that's kind of the preamble, if you will. And I don't think we'll take the time to go over the rest of it, but I'll tell you where to find it. It's on the AMHCA.org website, for one thing. But it really talks about the fundamentals of how we are serving humanity. And our first considerations are to improve the mental, emotional, and relational well-being of individuals. And in order to do that, we do that with a high degree of ethical understanding in keeping with the laws and codes of ethics and best practices. And we really emphasize the need to respect every individual and honor their autonomy, their ability to make their own choices, and also to respect confidentiality. And then it also addresses recognizing the presumptions related to all of the isms of gender, age, race, ethnic origin, sexual orientation, disease, ability, gender identity, creed, beliefs, nationality, or any other things, to make sure that we are recognizing that and recognizing our own issues that we might have, and then to honor the professional capabilities so that even if I'm threatened, or I will not violate any human rights or civil liberties. I am kind of going through it, but I think maybe this is a little bit okay. Anyway, share my professional knowledge with others, particularly my colleagues, and with other health professionals who are in the health business, and extend fitting respect and gratitude to those who have come before me, my colleagues, and the students that I know. I did a presentation as a sidelight with a bunch of graduate students a few weeks ago. And I said, you know, we don't see you as students, we see you as colleagues. And I think that's really what I felt initially when I was a student. Anyway, use my knowledge, skills, and experience to help others, the next generation of not only mental health counselors, but anybody else in the field, and attend to my own well-being. There's what I talked about a few moments ago, including physical health and relationships, and accept my lifelong obligation to improve my professional capabilities. Keep learning. So I love this last line, and I will read it. I will advocate for the betterment of others, for equality, inclusion, and the intrinsic dignity and the inherent rights of every person for the advancement of health and well-being. And that covers a pretty good, I don't know, what did I leave out, Jeri? In terms of the code of ethics, this is almost a one-page summary.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And when you think about this, the code of ethics really is just an expansion of this, breaking it down into, you know, more specifics. But this just really covers who we are.
Yeah, and I think that was really the intent, to in a one-page document that can be posted in your office. This is who I am as a clinical mental health counselor. I don't know anybody, I haven't found anybody that disagrees with it. Let's put it that way.
But it is concise, and is an acknowledgement of who we are, what we agree to do. And as you said, I recommend all clinical and mental health counselors posting this in their office, printing it out, having it even a part of their intake packet, so that we can communicate to the public, this is my oath, this is our pledge, this is the service that I will provide. And so this, again, as Jeri said, condenses a lot from our code of ethics. And so thank you. Gray, who authored this, or who helped to author this?
That person will remain anonymous.
Yeah. But I will tell you that it wasn't me, but the person is on this.
It wasn't me.
Well, then we know who it might be.
Well, actually, as everything in the association, it's always a group effort. We've done so many amazing things professionally, but it's never been done by one person. It's always been in the context of consulting with others, getting their opinions, and making adjustments. And in fact, this has been adjusted in the last year and a half, primarily in the context of what we've seen in so many issues throughout our culture in the United States. And so this is a living document. This is not locked in concrete, and it is intended to continue to be a statement of who we are.
Excellent. And you're very modest. And so I know there was a group of people, but thank you for leading the efforts and making.
Oh, he was absolutely the brainchild. Yeah, there's no question.
So thank you. Thank you so much. As we begin to continue to talk for the next few minutes in our broadcast, are there any other thoughts or things that we need to highlight to our membership, to the clinical mental health profession? Is there anything else that we need to highlight in regards to the Counseling Compact, Emerging Professionals, Code of Ethics, or our pledge as we continue to serve in a trying time for many, because we're still experiencing COVID-19, we experienced tragedies within so many different communities. And so are there any words or thoughts that you would give to the audience, emerging professionals, the public in general?
Well, I'd encourage people to take advantage of the Clinical Mental Health Counselors Essentials, a document. If you'd like, I've got some things that we could post up on that for a few minutes, because it encompasses everything. I think there was a vision a few years back that we didn't have a single source document that could be published in, there it is, Jeri. And it's kind of interesting. I was engaged in this project as well, but I keep it right here on my desk. I refer to it.
I do too. I do too.
Revised once. Do you mind if I share my screen on that one?
Go ahead. Go for it.
So this has been out now for a couple of years, and it's available on Amazon, both regular book and ebook. But what I like about it, it's basically a library, and it can be used by counselor educators, anybody that's interested. But what is really the first focus, of course, was to members of our profession. And I like to say that it really was developed by AMHCA to address a number of career questions. And so there's that compendium of resources, includes a review of the profession's foundational documents. They're reviewed and they're also listed in there. So for example, AMHCA has a code of ethics. Well, it's right there. AMHCA has a declaration. It's right there. It does have a very specific step-by-step proposal for a career guide for individuals, whether they're new students or just coming into the profession or fully licensed. And so there's kind of something for everybody there. And I just like to say it includes these chapters, why we are crucial to public health. You know, a lot of us don't think that, we think of ourselves as mental health professionals, but we're really public health professionals. And so what it distinguishes our identity, a little bit about the declaration that we just reviewed, talks about credentialing beyond graduation and licensure, and then how the profession has been shaped by its history and where is the profession going? What does it mean for us as we look forward? And then how the association, the American Mental Health Counselors Association, can assist. We did identify 5 career phases. And of course, the first one is the student. And you now can get certified as a CMHC student. And then you graduate and you get that initial license, and you're under supervision. And so again, there's a credential for that. And then to become fully licensed as a clinical mental health counselor, and then to go beyond our original licensure to be certified in advanced practice. And so we basically have now 3 categories. The CMHC specialist, this is somebody like, for example, myself. I was very interested in trauma, and I wanted to get additional training, continuing education, and certification as a trauma specialist. So we have a number of specialist credentials that people can earn, usually 2 years after full licensure. And then beyond that, a generalist, but a person who has become very expert in what they're doing, has been recognized as the clinical mental health counselor diplomate. And finally, the newest one is we wanted to recognize counselor educators. So we now have one for those who have been in the field of counselor education, have done a great job there. And these credentials, the diplomate and fellow, are usually for 3 or more years of service. And then finally, to recognize exceptional service to the profession. So I won't spend a lot of time here, but this kind of reviews the fact that we start out, all of us as students. Well, you can now be recognized and have a credential and an actual electronic badge that you can put on your business card or whatever on your stationery that shows that you are really engaged in the profession. And there are requirements for each of these, but they're not time-consuming, arduous requirements. They're readily available. And then as you graduate and you go into practice in an agency and are working under a supervision, you can earn the next credential and so on as you become fully licensed to become an independent clinical mental health counselor with that particular badge. So all of these things are available. As we go on in the profession, then we look at these other categories of the AMHCA clinical mental health specialist. There's a number of fields that we're looking at, and it basically requires 90 hours of continuing education and some degree of supervision and review of your requirement to earn those credentials. And likewise, there are requirements for the diplomate and fellow. And then the AMHCA laureate is for those who have done exceptional service to the profession over a long period of time. So that's a little bit of the background, and I like to say that Essentials answers the questions. Changing your professional prospects, get you connected more with your profession, and be able to promote your profession by promoting the essentials, sharing it with others. So I hope that's kind of helpful to talk about what AMHCA has done to really advocate for the profession. It's always been the case. Since the initiation of AMHCA, it was initiated to advocate for the profession in 1976. Well, it won't be too many years, and we'll be celebrating 50 years.
Yeah. Now in 45, right? And so AMHCA has a rich history, has absolutely a rich history. And I am proud to be a member and proud to be serving AMHCA in the membership. Gray, that the work that we've done, you've just displayed an awesome review of the work that we've done and what we represent and who we are as an organization.
It goes back to what we said earlier, and I've heard this comment, well, why should I join? What has my association done for me? Well, I think we can say that the association continues to do a whole lot for you, whether it's eventually getting to Medicare reimbursement or the fact that we do have TRICARE reimbursement and we are being hired by federal agencies. These just didn't happen.
Right.
They happened because the members of the association contributed to the association and made these things possible.
Exactly. Awesome. As we begin to wrap up our time together, is there anything else, any final closing words that you, Jeri, or Gray want to share with our listening audience?
The only thing I have really at this moment when I'm thinking about, what could I share is that I'm just so grateful to see the energy that's out there right now. Seeing the legislation that's happening, seeing that in all of our states, clinical mental health counselors are known and recognized. And I'm finding it exciting. I wish I was about 25 years younger,
So, younger.
Yeah. It's very exciting.
I agree with you. A couple of things. This is the first year that the Medicare legislation proposal, which is always there year after year, Congress after Congress says, but this is the first time it's been identified in the presidential budget. We're getting more recognition that this is not a nice to have. These are essential to the welfare of individuals, families, communities. And as I say to the people that are starting out in the profession, you will have an impact not only on the people you see, but many people you will never see, maybe down to and including generations. Can you think of anything that's more profoundly important to the welfare of our families, our individuals, our country? And it is exciting. And then I think the other thing, the integration of medical knowledge and expertise that we're having to become more aware of. And so it's now what we refer to as integrated behavioral health. It is really, there are some really amazing scientific and exciting opportunities that are coming and evolving right now. And I'm with you. I wish I had another 25 or 30 years. Maybe I do. I don't know.
But you go right ahead. But you're absolutely right. It's an exciting time. Both of you are correct. It's an exciting time in our profession. We think about legislation that's out there that we're advocating for in regards to the Mental Health Access Improvement Act. And so with that, if it's approved and authorized, it does allow licensed professional counselors, licensed mental health counselors, marriage and family therapy to practice and to be authorized Medicare provider. It allows us to be able to lighten the burden of that's on the behavioral healthcare field now. We are a large population. We are a large group of mental health providers, but we just need the access, and we can definitely help with the opioid crisis that we are experiencing, as well as the general mental health crisis that we're in. And so we are an entity that can help the workforce, help individuals, and help communities just experience a more improved quality of life. So we're going to continue advocating for S828 and HR 432. And that's the Mental Health Access Improvement Act. And we're going to continue to push forward. We're closer than we ever have been before, and we're going to keep pushing. So we are advocating, because advocating as part of the coalition and other organizations to, again, allow us to get authorizations for Medicare. I want to thank you all so much for being a part of the vodcast, our newly launched vodcast called Perspective. You have brought some great insight, you have shared your wisdom, and you help to advocate and bring more awareness to the great things that AMHCA has done and that we will continue to do. So I want to thank you again for your service, and thank you for being on our vodcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks.
See you later.
Thank you for joining the American Mental Health Counselors Association vodcast with President and Interim CEO/ED, Dr. Beverly Smith. We hope you will join us for the next episode to connect and hear the perspectives from experts and the organization that exclusively represent clinical mental health counselors. Be well.